Good afternoon, everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. In this video, we're going to go over how to drain and fill the cooling system and change the thermostat on your 1995 Mazda Miata MX-5 NA generation. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, first thing to know is this is your radiator drain right here in the middle of that big plastic undersheet. You may or may not still have this, but you've got a petcock right here, and you can see they set it up where you can take a big flat blade, crack it open that way, or you can take a socket, maybe a 14 or a 15 millimeter, and crack it open that way. So you need that. You're going to need a pan of some sort. I like using oil pans because then I can hold the coolant for a while without worrying about it, stuff getting in it or stuff being able to drink it, until I can get it to my local recycling facility. So we're gonna get us ready to go. Let's go figure out what size that is so we can crack it open. Once you get things going, you'll notice it flows really slow, and that's because our radiator cap is still on. Can't displace, so pop your cap loose, and that should drain much better. I've never done this style, see? Just pushing down on it. But push down, turn to the left. As you can hear, we're flowing a lot faster now. While that is draining, we can work on taking our plenum, intake plenum off right here. So we need to do that because where we need to be is right here for our thermostat. In theory, you don't have to take this off, but it really would make life so much easier if you do. So in order to take this off, there is a hose here. You're going to have a hose clamp here, probably 8 millimeter. You've got a hose here that needs to come off, and you have a clamp here, 8 millimeter, that needs to come off. Get those out of the way. This will just lift out of the way, and then we'll have plenty of access. This is almost loose enough I can use my fingers. So do that and get it to loosen up. If you get it to the point where the clamp can wiggle, you should be good. Oh man, this does not want to come off. She's stuck. Okay, get that out. There you go. All right, this is a 12 millimeter. See how bad this is, because I've never taken this off. Not terrible. I was able to loosen it with a 1/4 drive. But she's a little rusty, which is what you're going to expect with an old bolt that goes through a water jacket. So what you can do, see this one's pretty crusty. I'll probably take it and clean it off with my wire wheel and then coat it with some anti-seize, so that way this doesn't wind up rusting through, which would be bad. We don't want that. So I'm going to get this other one out. I know you can't see anything, but I mean, same basic premise here. Oh, this is a nut. So, or a stud, I should say. Now there's going to be some coolant left in this hose up here, but if your radiator's drained, it shouldn't be a lot. Alright, let's see. out, and is it just teasing me, or is that really long? Okay, it's just a little longer than I thought. All right. Same deal with this guy. It looks like this might be a homebrew here, or that stud looks like it broke. I wonder. I was not the first owner of this vehicle. Got it used. If you've stumbled across this and not seen the other videos I have on this vehicle. Anywho's, with that, ta-da, we have a thermostat. Now the good news is thermostat's easy to get to. Bad news is if you need to service your engine temp sensor and sender. The sender is the thing that shows you your gauge in the instrument cluster, and then the sensor is the thing that talks to the engine computer. Both of those are buried up next to the firewall, so that's a whole nother ball of wax, but I do have a video on it. Anyway, we're going to get this gasket off. Looks like they used the good gasket, so I really don't need to do much cleaning on this, and this gasket looks pretty torched. And we'll get this out. If this gets stuck like this right here, you can get a mallet and give it some tap taps. Just kind of break it loose. I mean, I wouldn't get a hammer, but get a mallet. Wood, rubber, either or. Just, you know, give it some love. Wiggle it loose. Get that out. All right. There we are. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go down here and grab our thermostat. And looks pretty good. USA made. It's nice. And I mean, it was functioning fine. I just wanted to go ahead and do this because, again, I'm not the first owner, and there were signs of neglect with this vehicle. So this is really cheap insurance to make sure your car doesn't overheat. So I got a new one that's actually, I think, the OEM Japanese one, and we're going to clean up our mating surfaces there and clean off those bolts, and we'll put a new one in and we'll button this up. After we do all that, go ahead and fill it with fresh coolant. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a new day. So for our thermostat, we are going with a Ison thermostat. I think that's OEM, part THZ007. Here we are. And one thing with thermostats, oh wow, this thing's got a serious jiggle valve on it, is you always take the spring side and face it towards the block. So when we go to put this in, it's going to go in like this. Always, always, always. Otherwise you will have it backwards. Our gasket is going to be, this is I think a Felpro, but 35251. Maybe it's Duralast. I don't know. No, Felpro. Okay. But you notice how this has this red ring here? This is kind of like an RTV type substance that will help you seal over the imperfections that generally form in coolant stuff over time. So you don't need to apply RTV if you have this kind of gasket, which is pretty nice. So what I'm going to do temporarily is I'm going to take one of my cleaned bolts here and just thread it in real quick. See, I cleaned that up. Now it's all shiny. So we're going to go ahead and thread that in so I can go ahead and kind of get this into position. Oh, come on, you. All right, so you're going to do this and you're going to do that. You're going to fall off, and then you're going to go here. Kind of like that. That's just kind of hold everything in place, and then have myself some copper anti-seize. I also have aluminum, but copper is considered a little more fancy. And we're going to take our other, get the giant galoobs off, but I'm going to take our other one. Get it on nice and thick. So that way, this hopefully won't degrade any further over time. Come on. May have to fight with your gasket a little bit. But now that I have this one in, that's threading in by hand, which is quite nice. Another advantage of cleaning off these threads is when you do see this, all of this, that just came out of right in there because I didn't clean that out. But that'll still work for what we need to do. We'll pin up our threads here, get it nice and thick. But this makes it so that if you, many years down the road, or the next guy, you sell the vehicle, when they go to take this apart, it's not gonna fight them near as hard. It's not gonna be rusted away. You, future you, or the next guy will thank you, basically. And as far as a torque value goes, to me, this is just elbow torque. I mean, don't crush it. This is aluminum we're working with here. You will cause strange things to happen if you torque it too tight. All right, that's it. That's the thermostat. So then the next thing we need to do is get everything prepped to refill our radiator. One other thing to check while you're doing all this is check your cap. Particularly the Miata uses this really old style cap. And you can see I actually need to get a new one. All of the seals are very cracked. I imagine this might be the original or close to the original. And I can pick that up later today. But for the moment, we're just going to start filling stuff again. All right. Today's flavor of coolant is this Walmart Universal. I can pour it without making a giant mess. One thing we are going to have to think about is burping the system. Making sure we get all the air out because this engine does like to heat up quickly. Now, some cars, what they'll do is they'll have a bleeder that you can crack to get the air out. I don't know if this one does or not. I haven't looked. If they don't, sometimes you can open up the ECT, but as I mentioned, ECT is in a really bad spot on this car. So we almost have a gallon in it. Okay, it looks like we're going to be right at about a gallon. Now, after the thermostat opens, it's going to take any air, let coolant into any air that's in the block, sloop it out, and you'll have to top it back off when that happens. So anyway, I'm going to keep adding coolant. Looks like we're going to be a gallon and change. If you decided to drop lower rad hoses or look for a block drain or something like that, it's going to be more. So I'd probably want to have 2-3 gallons of coolant on hand. I'm going to keep adding this and look for a bleeder. All right, let me adjust you slightly. There we go. All right, you're going to want to idle the car until you feel this upper rad hose get too hot to touch. Once that happens, you know that the thermostat has successfully opened. You want to keep an eye on your temps because, like I said, if you drain out too much coolant, get too much of an air bubble, you can get things a little toasty before the thermostat opens up. So always keep an eye on that. And then the next thing you're going to want to do, you don't have to do it right this second. I'm a little impatient, but you can wait for cool down. But take the cap off, and it's going to be under pressure at this point. So if you don't know how to deal with that, just leave it alone until it cools off. But we're going to take that off. We're going to look at our coolant levels. We're going to top it off. And if you need to top off your overflow, overflow is this guy here. He's over next to the passenger headlight. Mine is about where it needs to be. I didn't bother to take the old coolant out. It's not going to cause an issue, but if you need to, this is where you adjust that. As you can see here on the side, we have some marks. Actually, we're low. Now that I think about it, I'll need to top it off. But I want to take care of the radiator first. So we'll do that, and then once we're done with all that, we're pretty much good to go. You may want to check it one more time after you get some miles down, because different engines can be fickle about burping the air out. Some do it real easy, some do it real hard. But just check after some miles and top off as needed. Alright folks, that's going to do it for this video. If you found it interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. Hope it helps you out. Catch you guys next episode.